Welcome to another episode of the ThoughtfulTechy Cloud podcast. I'm very excited today. I've got a special guest, Mr. Broadus Palmer. Now, we're doing something a little bit different here today, in that we're going to record this episode of the ThoughtfulTechy Cloud podcast live. So, as with anything live, hopefully, everything goes well. Hopefully, the audio's sounding good. And welcome to the show, Broadus.
Hey, thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate you allowing me to be on this platform, man. It's an honor. So I'm excited to drop some gems today.
Yes, that's awesome. So, Broadus and I, the way we kind of met up was I noticed Broadus on LinkedIn. We have similar platforms in that we are very passionate about helping people break into tech, learn about cloud, to benefit their lives. And I had been seeing all the great work that Broadus had been doing with Level Up in Tech. And I said, you know what, I really want to, if you don't know Broadus, you need to. So I really wanted to bring him into my platform so you could get to know Broadus a little bit better and what he's doing with Level Up in Tech. So Broadus, you've had quite the journey from kind of where you started to where you are now in the tech industry. And my understanding is you used to be a banker.
Yeah, for sure. Used to be a banker of 14 years, right? And, you know, one thing I know for sure that really trained me to have customer interaction daily and built my soft skills up for like communication, problem solving, and all of that good stuff, and we'll get into that. But, yeah, so banking is hard and it's a rewarding career if that's what you want to do. But obviously, I wanted to do something else that was much greater in my life. And here we are with Level Up in Tech, brother.
That's great. That's awesome. I just wanted to check real quick out with the audience to make sure the audio is good. I'm getting a little bit of feedback on my side. Hopefully things are good on your end. But yeah, just give me a shout out in the comments if things are looking good. So
You sound great for me.
good. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Sometimes we have gremlins here and there, especially when we go live. I have to troubleshoot that after this thing's over. But so what's interesting, Broadus, is I know there's a lot of people out there that are probably wanting to take the journey that you took, a few years back, but they don't have the tools to do it. And what I love about your platform is that it's kind of like we talked about offline. You had the bumps and the bruises. You already scraped your knee, did the trial and error, figured out the recipe for success, scaled
Mhm.
it out, and packaged it and bottled it all up and Level Up in Tech, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yep. So, really, when I wanted to get into tech, right? And think about this, right? Just like a lot of you right now, I didn't know. I mean, obviously, we knew there was a tech industry, but I didn't know what I was going to do, right? I just had a light bulb that's go off one day. It was like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to get into tech. And then the next question in my head was, well, what are you going to do? Because you know absolutely nothing about it, right? So
That's right.
a lot of you.
Okay, looks like we lost Broadus there. So let's give him a minute. There we go. Cool, we got you back.
All right, yeah. So it kicked me out. Said thanks for joining. I was like, man. All right, so go back to what I was saying.
I ain't
A
gonna do
lot
you
of you
like that,
probably at
man.
this stage right now,
Yeah.
and what I started doing was researching and just really trying to figure out what I could do in the industry that's really going to help me have a challenging career, but overall give me a great financial stability for me and my family. And one thing I discovered was cloud computing. And with cloud computing, it gave me like an average salary that a lot of cloud roles were making. And one thing for sure that excited me is it didn't require me to have a college degree. And, I didn't go to college. I didn't, after high school, I just started getting into the job field. So I was like, man, you mean to tell me I can do this and have a salary like this and I don't have to have a college degree? And that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do cloud computing. But the next question was, what the heck you do next, right? How do you learn this stuff? How do
Yeah.
you, figure out how to get into here?
That's the
So
hard part. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
man, that's the hard part. So talking to 1,000 different people, right? And the people that are in tech, I knew that were database administrators, network engineers, just trying to see what they knew about cloud. I realized that a lot of people didn't know about cloud. I mean, they knew, but they didn't have any experience in it, right? So a lot of people in tech will tell you on your journey, just like they told me, well, just go ahead and get certified, man, get your certification, and you'll get a job. So I'm like, is that easy? Cool. You gotta tell me twice.
Yeah.
I'll get my certification.
How did
So
that work out for you?
Joe, listen. So I go and get on some training platforms, and I end up getting all 3 associate certs in AWS, right? Because number
Okay.
one, at the cloud service provider, it told me at that time AWS was king for me when I'm researching like all
Oh,
the
for sure.
companies was using this, right?
Hmm.
So I went and got solutions architect associate. Then I went and got the developer, and then I went and got the sysops associate, right?
That's
And
the,
I got this in
uh-huh.
about
That's the
no,
same
go ahead.
order.
I'm
That's the
sorry.
same order I did mine because like
Yep.
solution architect associate, that's like the bread and butter. Then there's some overlap with the developer associate. So if you already
Correct.
came in with the solution architect associate, that's a nice match. And the sysops is a whole nother animal.
Correct. So
Yeah.
with sysops, you will find if you're taking it. I personally believe that sysops should be a professional cert, but that's just my point of view, right? But anyway, so I ended up failing the sysops first, right? So think about this. After 2 certifications, I go and fail my third one, and my mindset was already, oh man, see, I knew I couldn't do this. I knew I wasn't good enough, right?
Hmm.
So I sat there and just kind of had to think of, is this was really what I wanted after failing the sysops exam? But I went and took it again after 14 days and I passed it. So now we at a point of it's time to go get jobs because that's what everybody told me to do: get certified, and I'll go get a job.
Yeah.
So applying to these roles, I quickly found out, to answer your question, Greg, that I knew absolutely nothing about how to solve problems in cloud.
Oh, that was painful.
The
Cool.
cer-
Hmm.
that was painful.
Yeah.
So think about this, y'all. Think about this. Think about I'm going on an interview, and the only thing
And
that's
you
really
you already going into an interview with 3 certs, right? So you're like,
with
okay,
three
I
certs,
got my
yes.
3 certs. All right.
Yes. So the only thing that's saving me in these interviews is my confidence that I come in with like, I got 3 certs. What you finna tell me?
Yeah.
You know
I'm,
what I'm saying?
I'm about to
So
tell you how this operates.
I'm about to tell you how this really go, right? So
Yeah.
I go in there and they start talking about other tools, other third-party tools, even talking about operating systems, Windows, Linux. They start talking about infrastructures, code, Terraform, Python and Bodo. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Like,
whoa, whoa. Like, so first thing I'm like, the certifications never taught me any of that. I don't even know where y'all coming up with this stuff, right?
yeah.
So you're going in and you're going through a panel interview and they just ask you technical question after technical question. And you really understand, like, man, I don't know how to solve problems. So I really had to go back and really look at myself and say, what can I do next that'll help me showcase my ability to solve problems? Because really, these things that they kicked at me in the interview was foreign.
Hmm.
Like, I didn't know any of this.
You know,
So it was crazy.
what I don't know if people realize what you're saying, how impactful it is, because I'm on these platforms too, and one great thing I get is tons of feedback, direct messages, lots of comments, like at scale. And one thing I've heard is, "Hey, Greg, man, I got this and that certification, but I can't get a job. Like I'm having trouble." And your journey is kind of taking me to that point of where a lot of the folks that kind of follow me are at. And I really would like to see, like, okay, for the people that went out and got the cert and they kind of thought they did everything they needed to do, it's like then they're in for that rude awakening. How would you recommend somebody to bridge that gap based on how you did it?
Yeah. So what you really need to just do is, to me, my point of view is if you're looking at a role, right, you got certifications, you have the base knowledge, right? But look at the job description and look at the skills and tools they're asking you for. What I didn't do when I went into interviews, I didn't look at the job description entirely. I just seen they wanted somebody with cloud experience. So I thought I had cloud experience because I had 3 certifications. I didn't look at anything else because I was just so excited to get the interview and go in there and showcase my knowledge, not experience, not hands-on thought process and how I solve problems, but my base knowledge of what I had about cloud because I thought that's all it took.
Yeah.
So what I had to do is really look at the skills and then look at how can I learn the base of these skills, but how can I show I can solve problems? And what that took me down is a journey of really going through a lot of rabbit holes, right? Trying to figure out how this works and why it doesn't work. But also in the end, it gave me a journey to talk about, right? So
Yeah.
this is the most important thing regardless of if you can solve a problem or not. Like if you're working on a project right now, or if you're trying to get hands on, just start doing things, right? Even if you're working on hands on labs, if it's a basic lab, great. But then start getting creative. Ask yourself, what will happen if I do this? What will happen if I do that? And start going down the rabbit hole to trying to accomplish it, right? Because what happens is you will find out if it works and you will find out if it doesn't, and you will have an understanding of why it works, or you will have an understanding of what you did that it didn't work. Either way, that is your journey to talk about in an interview, right? So if somebody brings up, hey, tell me about your experience with Linux, you could talk about your recent experience that you had. And guess what? That's exposure that you had over the last week, months, or even a year. And one thing I want y'all to leave with right now is exposure equals experience, because exposure can help you talk about how you can solve problems or how you have solved problems. So think about it in this way. And I'm sorry if I'm long winded, but I want to give you the story and I want to
Oh
give
no, this
you
is good.
the meat and potatoes. So think about if you are working with a tool, let's say called Terraform, which is an infrastructure as code tool that's cloud agnostic, meaning you can use this tool on any major cloud platform like Google, Azure, or AWS. Okay. So let's say in the last 2 to 3 months, you've been learning Terraform and you've been banging your head against the wall, building projects, solving them, understanding why things work, understanding why things don't work. Right. And let's say you get a role, and let's say your peer that's in the role has been in this role for like 2 years, but they haven't used Terraform at all. Okay. So
Hmm.
now while you're in this role, your first week, a project comes up where now your company that you're working for is starting to, they want to use Terraform to start to build out some infrastructure. And they give y'all a small project or a medium sized project to work on. Who has the most experience in this fact right here? Is it the engineer that's been working there 2 years that hasn't touched Terraform at all? Or the engineer that's been brand new but has been working with Terraform for the last 3 months, banging their head against the wall, solving
Yeah.
problems, and
Yeah.
understands a
I'm
lot more?
going with the person that's been banging their head against the wall using Terraform because here's the secret I've learned over my tech career. It's when you're banging your head and like think you're like messing up, that's where the learning happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we're so focused on the failure, and as I was like every time I failed, I was like, see, I knew I shouldn't be doing, but not embracing like that's a learning experience, right? Even
Yeah.
in defeat, I would not lose. Even in defeat, it's a valuable lesson learned. So it evens it up for me. That's what Jay
Yeah.
Z said, right? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to take that experience and roll with it, because even if it's small or even if it's a large project, the exposure is going to help you talk about your journey. And that, ladies and gentlemen, for an entry level engineer coming into cloud, that's how you can land a job. That's how you can impress your hiring managers or the people that's in a technical interview, that you know how to do it.
Yeah,
Period.
and what you've done, Broadus, is highlight a huge gap, and I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I'm telling you, based on the folks I see, like there's a huge gap between, okay, I got these certs, but I can't get the job. And the reason is because being successful on a certification is only a portion of the battle. Like you say, being
Yeah.
able to take that knowledge, like, okay, what happens when I type LS, or, you know, uh, what is S3? Like, that's all great and well to know that. But if a client comes to you and says, you know what, should we use object storage or should we use block storage, and why? Oh, could you tell me about your use case? If you can do things like that, this sets you apart from the person that just has a certification to the person that is getting the paycheck.
Yes. And you know what? You hit a valuable lesson, right? So think about this, y'all. Think about what Greg just said. Think about if you have that foundational information with certification, right? And now you're building your hands-on skill with labs and projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I found that a lot of people in tech don't do is read. All right. So let me show you what I mean. If you learning Terraform, if you're learning Kubernetes, if you're learning cloud, if you're learning Linux, Python, automation, testing, whatever it is, if you go to, let's say, blogs like CIO or any other blogs and read what companies are doing with that type of technology, then you can understand the business impact of that technology, right? So then you can understand how executives are looking at this technology. So if you can go into a company and not only talk about what you're doing, but talk about the impact that you think it can have on their business after listening to what they're using it for, that's once you understand the business impact and once you understand why, right? That is the major key to getting a role. Now, you're not going to understand. Sometimes you're going to work in tech and sometimes you're going to do some things, and we're order takers. So the order takers meaning, like, let me explain what I mean. Let's say you're at McDonald's and somebody asks for a cheeseburger. You're in the back cooking cheeseburgers. You know
You're
how to
making me
cook the
hungry, brothers.
look, you know how to cook the double cheeseburger, triple cheeseburgers, whatever, ketchup, pickles, onions, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
know how to do that. But you don't even know who you're serving it to. You don't even know the customer. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
okay.
you can make the best burger in the world, but you know what? What if they only eat chicken? See,
Right.
yeah, you hitting on a great point. You spend all this time
Yep.
and energy, but you don't even know what your preferences are of the person you're serving are.
Right. So you go into the interview too, and you thinking you're not even reading. You're not even reading the job description. You're
Yep.
not even reading. You're not even going and researching a company and reading what their mission is. So you go in here talking about your cloud skills, right? And it may be a cloud job, but they may have emphasis on they want you to have Terraform and Kubernetes skills. So you go in here and talk about Lambdas, you talk about Python, you talk about Linux. They don't even care about none of that. They want you to talk about containerization and orchestration of those containers and how to use repeatable code to build out infrastructure. But you're
Absolutely.
on the wrong lane.
Yeah,
You ain't
and
even read, you know?
and to kind of echo your point, what I do when I'm working with my customers, it's not about telling them every feature and spec of every AWS service. It's not even about the tech. The tech is just a means to an end, and that end is learning what your customer is trying to achieve for their business, what are their desired business outcomes, and then how can we arrange these AWS Cloud Lego blocks together to build an architecture that delivers that outcome. That's what it's about.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, in my perspective, right, and not the way I feel, we're not employees looking for jobs. We are businesses looking to sell our services to a company that's the right fit, right? So if you go in there looking at it as, well, I'm just going to take it. If they give me something, I'm going to take it. Think of yourself as a business. Number one,
Yeah.
if you spent all this money and time and going through resources building your product, your service, which is your skills, number one, how are people learning about your business, right?
Yeah.
So if you're building yourself as an engineer, but you're not putting yourself out there and marketing yourself, building your base, connecting with people, showing people how you can solve problems, then nobody's going to know, right?
Yeah.
So think about if you're looking for, home improvement right now. the first places you think about is Home Depot and Lowe's. Why? Because they market it to you. So you want the same companies that are looking for talent like you to think about you because you connected with them and they seen what you can do on LinkedIn or any other social
Yep.
media platform because you've been showcasing your abilities to solve problems. Whether it's right or wrong, you're out there showcasing. And I'm gonna give you another tip too. While you're doing projects, and I always say this, when you're doing projects, and let's say you're showcasing your projects, you don't have to showcase a perfect project because as a leader or owner of a business, I don't want to see perfect projects. I know it didn't work 1, 2, 3. I want to see between the 1 and the 2, what did you do when you got that error? How did you solve that problem?
Yeah.
And even if you can't solve the problem, get up on social media and say, hey, I've been working with this project such and such, but I got stuck here. Here's what I tried to do to help me solve the problem, but it's not working. Anyone have experience with this? Please, let's connect. I would love to pick your brain and see how I can solve this
Yeah.
project or work with you to solve it.
Let me tell you something interesting, that I see kind of in my day-to-day thing. A lot of the problems that I solve and my team solves, the reason our customers are coming to us is because they've never been solved before. A
Mm,
lot of people just say, get on here and search the internet to find a solution. There's problems out there for where when you search for it, it hasn't been solved yet. So that's where you really got to put, everything you've learned together and your experience to figure out what the solution is. And like you say, your project doesn't have to be perfect. I think your prospective employer would appreciate you hitting a stumbling block and to figure out how you got around it. Matter of fact, this is a question I ask in a lot of the interviews I've done. Okay, when you've hit a wall, walk me through like how you've got around it and this type of thing.
exactly. And this is exactly what we teach, especially at UIT, because we don't like to hold hands. And like you shouldn't, as a mentee, if you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for people to follow, you shouldn't expect someone to grab your hand and say, let me take you through this jungle, right? What you should expect is somebody's going to challenge you to start thinking differently because you're coming in an industry where you may have to think differently than what you thought about as far as solving problems before. And if you have a question, right? You should have what you tried so far, right? You should, people want to see your roadblocks and your stumbling blocks, like Greg said. Just like I just said a couple minutes ago, you should be putting those things on LinkedIn because what's going to happen is these things here. When you put your stumbling blocks on LinkedIn and you ask for help, you probably going to get somebody with more experience that's going to help you, right? And that person works for a company, most likely, right?
Right.
So now you work with that person that's going to help you solve this problem. And you like, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I didn't know it was that simple, but these are things I tried. Great. I tried this. It works. So guess what's going to happen? If a job comes open in that particular company, that person is going to think of you like, yo, damn, I just worked with Greg on this project. I think Greg would be a great fit. He's a little green. He hasn't been in a tech role before, but I personally work with him and I think he has the right attitude, the right mindset. I like the way he went through and solving the problems. I want to recommend him for this job.
That's
That's
right.
exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
And that's
I'm
how
a,
you get your foot in the door as well.
I'm gonna jump in real quick because to kind of I guess get concentrated on some really great stuff that you've been saying here. And you know, one of my former jobs, I was a consultant, and one of the things that key takeaways I took from that is, okay, there's lots of consultants, right? But you have to view yourself as an intrapreneur. So you're in the company,
Mm,
and an entrepreneur, the concept is everybody has a brand. And then when they think of a Greg Powell or Broadus Palmer, when they mention that name, without you even in the room, it's like, what is Broadus known for? Or what is Greg known for? And in the tech world, uh, you have to have a brand about you or be an entrepreneur to where when somebody thinks of, or Joe or Sue, it's like, okay, you got a networking issue. Yeah, you want to bring Joe in for that. Or you got a software development issue. Okay, you want to bring Sue in for that type of thing. That's the kind of clout you need to build around yourself because the truth is everybody's got a cert. So how do you rise above, the noise? And one of the
Yep.
things that you've been kind of talking about, and I want to make sure the audience gets this, is build in public. Jump on Twitter, jump on LinkedIn, and don't just show pictures and write posts of you, breaking the marathon tape and showing a picture of you holding the trophy. Like, I want to hear about the wins and the losses, in particular,
And the
the
loss.
losses, because life is full of losses. And I want to know, okay, how are you resilient and able to kind of navigate that? Because employers right now are navigating some tumultuous times. And when they bring somebody on, they want to know, okay, have you been battle tested?
Right. Exactly. And that is the story, right? So think about this too, y'all. Let me just bring it back. I always share my struggles in my story, like struggles for even where I came from, right? Coming from a rural area where really, if you're working at a job, it's retail, factory, and the county. People working for the county. That's all really the jobs that are in the area that I came from, right? So, and then going through banking, and then going through this journey of failure and success trying to move into tech. But without the failure, without the past, without the stumbling blocks that I went through my life, this story wouldn't be magnificent as it is right now.
Yeah.
So you got to think about your story too. Like he said, everybody has certs. What helped me understand tech was I was involved in the music industry and I looked at it as music. Everybody has an album in music.
Yeah.
Everybody's dropping a single. What's going to make you stand out? You got to be different. You got to interact. And what made me stand out in tech was I said, before I even got in tech, I said, you know what? I know I haven't made it yet, but I know it's somebody out there that's behind me that's looking to start and I can help them. So I start putting my trials and tribulations and then things that have motivate me onto the social media platform. And that motivated y'all. So you got to look at what's special about you and market that on LinkedIn. Build in public, just like Greg said. And trust me, you have to get out of your comfort zone. I know you're scared. I know you're afraid of being wrong in front of a lot of people that can point at you and say, why did you say that? That is absolutely wrong. I know you're afraid of saying the wrong thing and making a fool out of yourself. But what I'm saying is get out of your comfort zone. That's where your best life starts. If you want a career in tech, if you want to, build something that's challenging in a career and rewarding at the same time, you can't do it stuck in the bubble that you're in right now. You're going to have to do it scared. You're going to have to do it regardless of what you think is going to happen. And you're going to have to do it understanding that you don't know everything. Because a lot of y'all are trying to be experts at one thing before you move on to the other. And the thing is, you're not going to be experts. Even right now with people who've been in tech for 20 years, they don't know everything. So just understand that tech ain't about knowing everything. It's about figuring out how to solve problems. That's it.
Yep. One thing I wanted to jump in and kind of use an analogy. Anytime there's a transformation, it's going to hurt. I'll use a kind of example. Last year, I ran a half a marathon, and
Oof.
I've never run a half a marathon before. Now, in high school, I dabbled with a little bit of cross country. That's a 5K. That's 3.1 miles. So I went from having never running a half a marathon and like after like a 5K being like ready to like thinking I'm gonna have a heart attack to fast forward like I think it was like a 14-week program. Next thing I know, like on race day, I'm like crossing the finish line at finishing my 13.1. There's a lot of pain and suffering in between there. There's a like literally every run and every step, I'm like, man, I feel like, I don't know, why am I doing this to myself? And I'm thinking there's a lot of similarities in breaking into tech because going back to your days, I'll say there's a lot of bankers out there, not literally, but like there's a lot of people in a position that they are not passionate about anymore. And the comfort of just, well, this is what I've been doing, so I guess I'll just keep doing it. Like, how do you
Mm.
coach somebody to go from that moment to go through the pain, to get to the transformation, and to keep plugging away to ultimately get, a higher paying job that's, and like I say, not just about higher paying job, but a job that you're excited about going to when the alarm clock goes off. And oh yeah, by the way, it pays well.
So first, you got to start off with the vision. The person has to believe and see it, right? So with me, I didn't. I knew there was a tech industry, obviously, right? But I didn't. I mean, I didn't know I could be that person that can help others transition. I didn't know I could even get into the tech industry. I thought I had to go to college. I thought I had to be smart with computers. I thought I had to come out the womb a computer genius to be able to do something with tech until I got exposed, right? Remember, exposure equals and not even experience as hands on, but the experience that you can have in your life that transition your mind. I was exposed to two gentlemen who came into the bank, and their 2 week check was damn near double the size of my monthly.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, what y'all doing? And he was like, I'm in tech. I was like, hold up, in tech?
How I do
He's like,
that?
yeah, I work. Look, he's like, I work for home. And the thing that clicked with me was I lived at the time in a rural area where half the county had FiOS or fiber optic, and half the county had DSL. This man lived on like 10 acres in the middle of nowhere, beautiful country land, and was making 5,000 every 2 weeks at home on his DSL CenturyLink modem.
Wow.
And I was like, this bro don't even have sufficient speed of internet, and yet he's still making 5K every
He was
two
on one notch
weeks
above dial up.
sitting at home. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So I was
Yeah.
like, if he could do this, and I got exposed to those people who, I start thinking like he was a brother that looked like me, and I'm like, yo, you doing that seriously? And he's like, yeah. So the vision and the mindset, comes together. You have to see somebody be successful first, whether it's on social media, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's in your own neighborhood, because you can't get past your own thinking because that's all you've been exposed to. But this is the point of what me and Greg is on this platform for now, right?
Yeah.
We're exposing you to two brothers who are doing well in tech. So you
Yeah.
can see it now, right? You can see somebody who's come from a non-technical background that may be just like you, that has transitioned to a career that he wouldn't believe that he could be into.
Yeah.
So it
And
all starts with your vision. Can you see yourself doing it? And if you can see yourself doing it, then you have room to grow into it.
yeah, I'll throw in some kind of a personal story on me. So I mean, I've been doing this now for a long time. So everybody now sees Thoughtful Techie like, oh man, Thoughtful Techie and AWS and so smart and tech and all this other stuff. But here's the thing: I came from a one horse country town. All right, the only computer science class I had in all the way through high school was keyboarding. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So no programming, nothing. I mean,
No, nothing.
these aren't, the top tier schools either, you know. But the one thing I did have was a natural curiosity. And I think the reason why I liked tech so much, when I say tech, I mean like computers and stuff growing up, is because the town I lived in was so boring that the computer was like interesting to me and gave like it helped me to escape boredom. That's why I spent so much time on it. And I would read and learn and tinker, and that's kind of how I built my following. So you got two people here on a podcast that weren't born knowing how to program, and the cloud didn't even exist, and all this other stuff. But through interest, hustle and grind, and starting with the belief, as Broadus mentioned, that hey, if the next guy or gal can do this tech thing, why can't I do it? Matter of fact, I can do it. So there's a big mindset that plays into it.
Yep. And one thing Greg not saying is when we say keyboarding, right, we're talking keyboarding to get us jobs typing,
Type.
right? So like
Yeah.
at the time when we was keyboarding, it was all about how many words could you type per minute.
Yep.
That determined the type of job you got, not to get in tech. It won't nothing about getting a tech. It
Yeah,
was about, can you type on the computer and how fast can you type?
that's
That's
right.
what it was about.
Yeah,
So think about that, y'all. A lot of y'all in the same scenario right now, where you feel that you want this, but you like, how do I go about it? The first thing to do is just reach out to somebody and just pick their brain of what they did. Like, how did what's the first thing that you started with as far as understanding? My thing is just research tech, research cloud, look at the different cloud roles and just kind of look at what you may be interested in. And it's okay if you say, hey, I want to be a cloud DevOps engineer. You go down that road and you say, I don't like this anymore. You can pivot, because once you start learning cloud and learning tools, all those tools transcend into other roles. So now you could be a security engineer, or now you could go into networking, or you could do sales, you could
yeah,
be pre-sales, whatever the case may be. You don't have to, it don't have to be the end all be all because you chose this route and now you don't like it. You can pivot and go to something else, or you can work in this role for a couple of years and decide you want to do something else and still do it and make more money doing it. So
yeah.
that's the
I
case.
really want to highlight a couple of themes you mentioned. There was a theme of failure, and you failed a few times. I
Mhm.
failed a bunch of times. It's not about trying to avoid failure, but you're going to experience failure. Failure is feedback. The important concept when you fail is to learn from the failure. Don't keep making the same
Yeah.
mistakes over again. And when you
Yep.
fail fast. And I like how you also introduced the concept of pivot. Like at the start of something, you might set a goal, but then you get midway into it, and you're like, you know what? I think I might need to make some adjustments because this is not going like I want it to do, and that's okay too.
No, it's definitely okay, right? And failing. So think about if you failed your certification, failed your first AWS
Yeah,
certification,
you
right? You
mentioned you
took
failed
a C.
one of your
It's this
certs,
side.
and that's
Yep.
a punch in the gut because I feel I
It,
failed a
it
couple
is.
too in my day.
Yep.
That's a punch. How do you come back from that?
So I had to change my mindset, right? Where a lot of people were probably just like I was, like, man, see, I knew I wasn't smart enough to do this. See, blah, blah, blah. But you got to understand this. It is so many variables for people passing and failing the exam. Okay. Let me just break it down for you. You can have a person who don't have any hands-on experience, right? And go and take an exam and get 5 questions at the end of the exam that talk about topics they never heard of. And they click on answers and luckily get them right and pass the exam.
Yeah, they just guess
And
right.
here you go and guess right.
Hmm.
And you got a person who has experience, but just had a bad day, right? They woke up, they didn't get enough sleep, or their kids was, going off or something in the morning and it just threw their day off and
Yep,
they go and fail the exam.
by
Does that mean
one.
that the person that passed it right by one? So
Hmm.
does that mean the person that passed the exam has more experience than you or hands-on qualities than you? No, right?
No.
So what you have to look at is this: if you're scared, you took the exam, you took your first exam, you were scared, right? And you failed it. Now you're beating yourself up because you feel like you're not smart enough. Well, you should just turn your mindset around and say, okay, the next 14 days, I'm going to level up and I'm going to pass because now I know what to expect. You got hit. Think about it. If y'all are boxing fans, think of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fight when Deontay Wilder knocked Tyson Fury down. And if you get knocked down by Deontay Wilder, you ain't getting up.
It's over.
But Tyson Fury got up.
Uh-oh.
And what Tyson Fury did in the next 2 fights they had was killed Deontay Wilder because he took the punch and he knew when he got up, okay, I took this punch. I know what it feels like. So I know what to expect next from him. That's
Yep.
how you got to look at the certifications. I took the punch, I failed it, but now I know what to expect. And that's the same thing when it comes to interviews. If you fail your first interview and you get that no, you broke the ice. You know what to expect in interviews now. You know what type of questions you should expect. So go ahead and start doubling down on answering those type of questions and having those hands-on experience to be able to showcase your problem solving.
That's right. That's awesome. Thank you for that, Broadus. I want to spend kind of like the last segment of the show really focusing on our audience right now on how they can do this too. But before we jump into this, and I think Broadus, you can say it better than I can. For the folks listening, this is not hitting the easy button. This is not taking the pill to lose 10 pounds and getting washboard abs in 15 minutes. What we're about to talk about next will lead to great outcomes, but not without putting in the work. So just want to preface that when we start talking, getting into the Level Up in Tech program. So Broadus, now folks that are listening, they've allowed themselves to believe, they've changed their mindset, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith here. I can do this. I don't have any technical background. I got Broadus here. He didn't have a technical background. Now look at him now, super successful in the tech industry, tech space, and even launched his own company. Walk me through how I can get started, like the process, like, because there's all kinds of different aspects of tech. People are in different industries. Like, what does intake look like in terms of getting into this program and even knowing, is this right for me?
Yeah. So really, when you come to us, right, most of y'all will be talking to me on some type of social media platform, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, even Instagram, right? But we're just gonna have a conversation to really talk about where you are and where you want to go. And a lot of y'all, 50% of y'all won't have any technical background. And it's okay, because guess what? I'm out of the program after my journey. I didn't have one, as you listen to Greg and I talk. So coming into the program, we really give you a fundamentals of IT type of assessment and course you go through, just so you can understand some terminology. Because reality is, a lot of y'all, when y'all learning things, you get stuck on the terminology because you want to know everything. Your mindset tells you you're scared, you're anxious, so you're like, I have to learn every single thing about this topic that we're going to learn before I feel comfortable with moving forward. So keyword is comfortable, right? So stay with me. So when you get into this program, we're going to start with foundations and fundamentals of solving problems with operating system called Linux, file system called Linux, right? Going through this, we're going to show you how to be hands-on with doing a lot of things in Linux. One thing that you need to understand is, in our program, we're not expecting you to be an expert. You will not be an expert coming out of our program. All right. Let's clarify that now. What you're going to be is exposed to several different topics and scenarios, and you're going to have the understanding of how to solve problems with each. All right. People, once again, get into their mindset where they want to know everything about this subject before they move forward. But what you got to understand is, since we're on a fast track pace of 6 months, you get the exposure and you move forward to the next thing and get the exposure. Sometimes in tech, you won't learn things about what you just learned until you learn other things later. And then it clicks like, oh, that's why. When you click, you like, oh, okay, I see. In week
Exactly.
one, that's what we was doing, and it makes sense.
It's just,
What you
yeah.
have to understand.
It's just
No,
like
I'm
math.
sorry.
It's
Go ahead,
like,
Greg.
now I know what these fractions are about when you start getting into higher
Right,
levels of math here. That's what
right,
Broadus was talking about back in that Linux class.
exactly.
Yeah.
And once you have to challenge yourself to be comfortable doing it, scared of not knowing. So you're gonna come through and say, "Hey, man, I just feel like I'm not retaining this information," until we put something in front of you, and you're like, "I did it." Man, I know, because we are our own worst enemy, right?
Yeah.
In most cases of us moving forward, the roadblock that keeps us from being successful is our own self, right? So you have to know yourself, and a lot of people don't. I don't even know, right? So our own personality types of what makes us unmotivated, right? What makes us kind of shrivel up and go into our own comfort zone, right? This is why people need mentors and need programs, because you don't even know that about yourself. So you need someone to hold you accountable for doing the things that you said you was going to do to help you move into success.
Let me
And
ask you a
now go
question,
on.
Broadus. Is the program kind of run in a group setting, kind of a cohort?
Yes.
So, all
Yep.
good.
Yep. So
And
cohort base.
that's good, because it's like anytime you're in that group setting, it's kind of like you have that support of the group. It's kind of like y'all are going through it together, and then you can network with your other buddies within the group to kind of get through projects and stuff, right?
Yep. So, I got off track a little bit. So let's get back on track. So, going through our program, you can be in a group setting where you're going to be focused on working together, helping each other answer questions. You have your specialists and success coaches that we have as well. That's going to be with you every step of the way. But each section you learn, you build off of, and you learn something else that connects to it, right? We have over 18 projects that you can build in your portfolio that's from basic to
Wow.
advanced, right? We challenge you every step of the way. Anybody that's in Level Up in Tech right now, and I see a bunch of y'all that's on this call, y'all can tell them we challenge y'all every step of the way. You will find yourself in this program, whether you know it or not, because
Wow.
it is intense, but we here to help you move forward. And once again, the only roadblock that's going to be really stopping you from being successful is yourself. You have to understand that this is, muscle memory. We're going to be expanding the muscle of your brain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be learning things. You're going to be like, wow, uh, I never thought I'd be able to do that. But also, you're going to be learning things that's going to give you anxiety because of what you fear the future is going to hold. But if you trust the process, go through this 24 weeks of a battle tested plan that's going to help you move successfully. In the end, you're going to look back and you're going to have so many hands-on exposure opportunities in your portfolio, and you're going to be able to go into an interview and talk about what you learn and realize that it's some of the things that these folks not even doing in their companies right now. So you may be even a shining star. And if you land that role, you're going to go into a role, you're going to feel like you don't know anything because it's your first role. But you're going to realize you're going to know more than a few people that's been there a year or two already. And the common thing that you're going to feel, and I hate to say it like this, is you always have somebody on that team where you get onto a organization and you say, I thought I knew nothing because I was green, but you know absolutely nothing. So I know, so
You know
I know
less than
this
I
program
do.
prepared. You know, and I know this program has prepared me for the best.
Yeah.
It's intense. So think about you getting in shape and going to the gym, and the trainer is hitting you with workouts and dynamic movements that you've never done before. You're going to be sore. You may not even want to come back. But I promise you this, if you keep coming back and you keep following the process and you keep doing the things we're going to tell you to do, when you look in the mirror, you're going to be a whole completely different person.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff stood out there to me. I hear a lot of people come to me and say, Greg, what project would you recommend? This and that and the other. I heard a key number that stood out: 18 projects that folks that enroll in the
Yes.
level up in tech program can do. So, when you when you come out of this program, like you build your portfolio as you go.
Yes. And on top of that, we have career and development right now. We're helping you with interviewing. We're helping you with LinkedIn optimization. That's important. We pushing people who never had a LinkedIn page before to build the LinkedIn page, and now they're sharing their
Yeah.
journey when they never had one before.
Yeah. I tell folks when I hear them, I'm having trouble getting the tech job. I was like, okay, what's your LinkedIn profile? And I go look at it, and it's got like a blank picture, nothing filled out. I'm like, if you're not on LinkedIn, you don't exist.
You don't exist. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right? So, and that's that magic that's happening at Level Up in Tech too. Taking somebody who had no technical experience to going through all of this, and now they're a brand. They are a brand on social media, on LinkedIn. Companies are looking at them. And that's how people are getting jobs, right? You go to apply to a company not realizing that their hiring manager's already been looking at your profile from day one. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? And that's the crazy thing. Not only that, we understand that, and you need to understand too, the tech can be learned. Can you do this on your own? Absolutely. I mean, anybody can take this journey on their own. But once again, you got to know yourself in order to make it, right? And you got to will yourself. But however, it's all about mental. It's all about your mentality.
Yeah, and
If you're
one thing I noticed, Broadus, when you and I kind of connected, one thing I thought was great is that you're really passionate about the mindset, and you said during those weeks you'll send motivational kind of uplifting stuff. You recommend like meditation, and there's a lot of encouragement that's combined with the program too. Is my understanding.
Yep. So anybody can tell you right now in the program, we have weekly meditation sessions. We have a great brother of mine, John Quest Brown, comes in with meditation sessions. We have career and development with Tegan Bartos, who you got lifetime access to her resources and courses. We have Kinsey Parham, who's a career and development specialist there. Just a whole well-rounded program where it's literally going to uplift you as far as you want it to let it take you, right? If you're fighting against change, if you are a person who says, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, and you keep telling yourself you can't, guess what? You can't,
That's
right?
right.
But if you want something that's going to help you build a stronger mentality, right? That's going to help you understand how to solve problems from a foundational to advanced level, right? That's going to help you give you a portfolio that you can showcase as far as your business and say, as a business, because we're not employees looking for jobs, we're business looking to sell our services. As
I
a business,
I love
this is
that.
what I could do, right?
Yeah,
So as a business, this is what I can do, and this is how I can help your organization solve problems. If you want to get comfortable with interviewing, understanding how you could present yourself and pitch yourself to companies, if you want to learn how you can build your online social media presence to showcase you as a cloud engineer, what you could do, if you want to connect with hundreds and thousands of people, if you want to learn from the best, if you want to just land a six-figure role in your career, whether it's your first role or second role, or just keep leveling up until you reach that goal, if you just want to come out and just change your entire life, change the trajectory of your career where you thought your next level and it was management at the company you work for, but no, your next level now is cloud engineering and the unlimited opportunities that can be offered in this industry, then you need to check out Level Up in Tech right now.
man. I tell you what, I'm ready to sign up, and I'm already in the industry. Man, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Cool. So, man, we talked about so much great stuff for the folks that are watching this, live recording of the podcast. If you didn't catch the whole thing, uh, this is going to go out on the Thoughtful Techie Cloud podcast here. Once I get a chance to, you know, distribute it. But definitely go ahead and subscribe to that. As we close out today's show, Broadus, for folks that are ready to take the next step, what is the best way to get rolling?
Yeah, so you can go to our static site right now, levelupintech.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Broadus Palmer. I don't think I can comment in the section here. Can I? Let's see. Nope.
Mm,
In the community section. But search me, Broadus Palmer, right now on LinkedIn. You can find me, Mr. Level Up in Tech, on IG and TikTok as well. But whatever you do, and you could Google Broadus Palmer, or you can Google Level Up in Tech. You'll see several articles from Business Insider, Entrepreneur, Forbes, all of that we've been in. Okay, Yahoo Finance, all of that good stuff. So you can find me if you want to find this, right? So my suggestion to you is, if you've just been thinking about it, right, and you've been researching cloud, and you just need somebody to just bounce an idea off you, like, I want to do this, but I'm not sure if this is for me, connect with us anyway. Because if you're not a great fit for the program, we're still going to point you in the right direction. So you're still going to get, a head start of where you should be doing right now. All right. So just connect. Don't be afraid. This is your first step. This is your homework for the day. Connect, connect, connect. All right.
that's right. And one last thing, Broadus, as we sign off on the show today, just want to get your take. With all these macroeconomic conditions and layoffs and just all these very tough things that are happening, for those that kind of they want to get started, but at the same time they're discouraged. What's the one piece of I guess of inspiration you could leave them with as we close out the show?
So one thing I would say, it's a thing that I took from Warren Buffett, and it may hit you and it may not hit you. but I hope it does. While in a condition in the market where everybody's scared and they're just shrinking up, you should be investing. You should be investing in yourself, investing in your skills, because when you look at cloud, I don't necessarily just look at the job opportunities. I look at the business I can create too. So when you thinking high paying job, God could be thinking for you high paying business, right? So take that and just understand that, yeah, companies are laying off, but there's other companies that are hiring as well, right? While these major companies are letting some talent go, there are other smaller companies and mid-sized companies that are looking for talent. Right? For instance, I just had a company hit me up last week looking for 10 individuals ASAP. That was the word,
Wow.
ASAP, in the
10.
next 2 weeks. 10, right? So there are companies that are hiring. The question is, where are you going to invest in yourself? You're the best stock you can ever invest your money into. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna put my money here in these investments and this and this and hope it grow. Well, what if I told you that the stock that you can invest into grows with the work that you put in? You can invest in yourself and grow it as much as you want to grow it. You ain't got to worry about the company's performance. You just got to
Yes.
worry about your own
The
performance.
biggest
Okay,
return you'll ever get is the investment that you place into yourself.
for
For sure.
sure.
Yep.
So that's what I would say. Don't worry about the industry. The industry is going to be the industry. It's going to have its ups and downs. Worry about what you could do for yourself, what skills you can build that's going to give you great return. If you invest your time into your skills, later on, your skills will give you more time.
Wow.
All right. So, yep.
All right. Y'all gonna have to watch that back on the replay because that was deep. But Broadus, this has been awesome. I'm so glad we connected. I really enjoyed this conversation. So many gems were shared on this, but it'll be archived for those of you that want to consume it over again as many times as you like. Thank you to our audience for tuning in here to the show, and we'll see you on the next one.
Appreciate y'all. Thank
All right.
y'all.
Take care of yourself now.